Okay, so we can just get started now. Yeah. So can everyone hear me? Just put a thumbs up or unmute and let me know. Or you can also put in the chat. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna be discussing Scratch and logical operators today. And yeah, so I'll be giving you a presentation about them. So a quick introduction is hello, my name is Rishika Tamseti, and I'm a freshman in high school. And I'm super excited to work with you all for the next 1 hour and discuss Scratch and Boolean. When I was much younger, I had the impression that computer science was very difficult and not worth trying. But only after trying it out, I realized that it's not hard, but in fact, pretty fun, and decided that I should help more people know about it as well. So here I am. Does anyone have any questions so far? Just let me know at any time if you have any questions. So, icebreakers and plan. So, to break the ice, I want you guys to write down your favorite things to do, like hobbies and interests in the chat. And this is the plan for today. So, introduction, basics of logical operators, which is a presentation, and we're going to work through Scratch. So, please create an account right now if you haven't already. Could you guys write down like your favorite hobbies in the chat, just so we have an icebreaker? Coding and painting. That's cool. Yeah. So also, is there anyone that did not have a chance to download and create I mean, not download, but maybe create an account on Scratch yet? Okay, could you do that right now? I can show you how to do it. One second. Okay, so what you need to do is go to scratch.mit.edu. Um, so just let me know once you're there. I'm gonna share my screen with the thing once my computer loads. Okay, so you have to go to scratch.mit.edu. Let me know when you're there. Okay, next you have to go to join Scratch. Just give me a thumbs up or just a message or unmute. Okay, so then you have to create a username and a password. So like, and then create a password like that. Just create, let me know if you did that. Did you create a password and username? Yeah, okay. Then next is select a country. Are you there? Okay. Next, birthday. And next is this gender and email. So once you give your email, it will create your account and then it will send you an email to your email as a verification and you'll be done. So once you put in your email, just let me know and it will ask for verification afterwards. Okay. Okay. Did it ask for your verification? Okay, you're good. Are you all ready? Okay, okay, that's good. So we can go back to our presentation. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So the plan for today, once again, is an introduction that we have already done, pretty much. Basics of logical operators, work through Scratch, and we all have our accounts, right? So we're good now. Next slide. Okay. Basics of Boolean. So Boolean is the first thing that we're going to be going over today. Yep. Boolean logic. Boolean logic is a good start off to coding if you're like a beginner, and this is the first thing you probably want to know to get a good idea of what coding would seem like. So Boolean consists of three primary operators, or, and, not. These logical operators can be visually described with methods such as Venn diagrams. Does that make sense to everyone so far? Or any questions? So operators, so if you like use the word operator, it means that it operates something, right? So what it does is it basically just carries out a function in the code. Does that make sense? So yeah, so or and not, they carry out functions. So if you say, yeah, so okay, you understand that? Yeah. So if you, I'll give you more examples in the next couple of slides, but basically what they're doing is they're carrying out functions. Like a function, for example, is if you tell someone to sit down on a chair, that's a function, right? So, or and not, these are three very common functions that are used in coding. Yeah. So these logical operators can be visually described with methods such as Venn diagrams. So diagrams, Venn diagrams do commonly describe logical operators visually. And I will be going over those three logical operators in the next couple of slides. So with the first one, we're going to start off with is or logic. Or logic. So or logic is hero or villain, as an example. So this search would identify records where at least one of the search terms is present. Due to the fact that we're looking for the terms hero and villain, the sources containing either of these words might be relevant. So basically, what this means is that, say you search up hero, is there a 100% guarantee that you'll have the word villain pop up in your search? Not necessarily. But if you search up villain, just villain, there's no guarantee that hero would pop up. But when you use the or logic and you say hero or villain, you're giving them the option to choose what they want to show you in their search results. But when you type just hero, there's no option, right? Because when you say or, it could be either the first option or second option. If you just write hero, only hero would pop up. If you say hero or villain, then just the hero could pop up in your search results, or just villain could pop up in your search results. Does that kind of make sense? Are there any questions? Feel free to ask questions at any time. Yeah. So here is the search of hero or villain. Obviously, the first couple are just like stories. But hero or villain, that means that the search results pop up with both of the words guaranteed, and maybe even the word or. So you know that both words are there. So this is what happens when you search up hero or villain. Both those words, in fact, even the word or is going to be in your search result because you're giving them the option to compare the first word hero, the second word villain, So it could be all three of those words included in your search results. However, if you do use a smart system, it can identify that you're asking for either word. So it can only show you hero or villain, not hero or villain. Like on Google, it'll just copy your phrase. But if you use the smart search engine, it'll only show you pictures of one. It'll select one of those words for you. Say it'll select the word villain and it'll only show you search results for villain. But because Google is just trying to copy whatever I ask, it's going to take that entire phrase and look for it. It's not able to detect what I'm saying. It's not understanding my command. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, perfect. Next is and logic, starvation and homelessness. So this search identifies records in which both of the search terms are present. So we don't retrieve any records with only starvation or only homelessness. The more terms or concepts we combine in a search with and logic, the fewer results we will have. Yeah, not necessarily in other places, but if there's things that can detect your commands, like there are websites that are used for coding, right? Like there's a lot of websites. For example, you could use Code Academy or Scratch, and if you program in a way that it'll understand, yeah, it'll only give you search results for hero or only search results for villain or even replit. Yeah, that's a good question. Yep. So next is and logic, and I think it's kind of self-explanatory based on what we went over for the other one. So this one is just that we include both options. So when you say starvation and homelessness, you want your search results to talk about both of them. So this search identifies records in which both of the search terms are present. Again, we don't retrieve any records with only starvation or only homelessness. We want to include both of those in our searches. So, as I mentioned earlier, Google is going to copy starvation and homelessness and find like articles or any websites or any source that has the phrase starvation and homelessness. But if we did put it into a proper like site used for programming, it will only find the search results with both of them included. So specifically talking about starvation and homelessness. So the more terms or concepts we find in a search with and logic, the fewer results we will have. It's including both of them. If I searched up just homelessness, they would mostly talk about questions regarding homelessness. Like there's a question. Well, could you emphasize on your question? Sorry. Like why as in yeah, let me just continue though. So when you say starvation and homelessness, you're not talking about just one of the terms individually, you're talking about both of them. So if we have, okay, why are there, okay, fewer results? Yeah, let me just finish and then I can answer your question. So if you search up the word starvation, right? Is there a guarantee that the searches that pop up, like if you click on a website, do you think there's a 100% chance they'll talk about homelessness? Not necessarily, right? There is no guarantee that they will talk about homelessness if the article is about starvation. If you talk about homelessness and you just search up the word homelessness because you want to know about homelessness, is there a 100% guarantee that they're talking about starvation? Not necessarily. The article could be about another aspect of homelessness that has nothing to do with starvation. And if you search up an article regarding starvation, there is no guarantee that they're talking about the aspects of homelessness, right? So, like, if I just search up starvation, right? There's no guarantee that they talk about homelessness. They could be talking about various other things. So that shows that when you search up the words starvation and homelessness, not every single article about starvation is going to be also including homelessness. So when you have 100 articles, right, about starvation, for example, just take it as an example to answer your question, and you search up starvation and homelessness, not every article there is going to talk about homelessness. So when you say this phrase and search it up, the articles without the term homelessness will be removed. So maybe you'll have about 40 articles out of 50 with both of those terms included. Does that make more sense? Just let me know if that makes sense. And the same applies to if you have homelessness, right? And the other way around. If you search that term up, pretend there's 100 articles regarding the concept of homelessness. But if you want to include both of those terms, maybe about 30 or 40 articles would be there because not every article talks about both of them together. There could be separate articles for each one, but combining them will automatically reduce the amount of articles there is for them combined. Okay, next one. Okay, this is called the not logic. So in this search, we'll find records of only one of the terms being present and the one selected by search. So be very cautious when you're using not. The term you do want may be present in an important way in sources that also contain the word you wish to avoid. So for example, consider a search result that includes the statement that villains are misunderstood. The search illustrated above would exclude this document from your results. So once again, as I said, Google will just copy heroes, not villains. So what you need to understand is if I search up heroes, not villains as the example, it's going to find you sources that say heroes, not villains. Or if someone writes in their story heroes, not villains, it's going to find that for you. But what you want to understand is that in programming, you want it to be like you're talking to a human. So if you use websites that are used for programming, they'll understand you do not want the word villains. However, Google does not understand that, and it will just copy those words you used and look for articles with those exact same words in the exact same order. So does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So heroes, not villains. As you can see when you search it up on Google, it's giving me articles or sources with the exact same words. But if I did put it through, if I coded a website or a program and I put it through as not heroes, not heroes, not villains, then it would not give me villains. It would give me all the resources or all the sources that talk about heroes or anything else, but it cannot talk about villains. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Can anyone give me an example of the anything we went over so far? There's still a little bit more to go regarding this topic of logical operators. Can anyone give me an example of one of the logics that we went so far? So it could be not, it could be and, it could be or and not. Uh, Let me just keep going back and forth so you can see all of them. Okay. So for example, I'll write an example for one of the operators. So if I was going to use the not logic as I just mentioned, you just take one of the logics, right? Not logic. And I'll give an example and then I'll explain why. So in the chat, or feel free to unmute, you can explain one of the logics with an example and what it would look like when you search it up on a programming platform, not Google, but a programmed platform, specifically to understand what you're writing, not just copying whatever you're writing. So, not logic. Fishes and turtles will only show results that have both. Yeah, that's perfect. But could you also write down what logic that is? Yep, that's correct. It's and logic because whatever word is put between the words, that's what it is. That's correct. See, this is the example. Okay, another one. Cars or trucks will show cars and trucks individually. Yeah, that's correct. And what logic is that? Or logic. Yeah, that's correct. So basically, what you're saying is this or logic, it can, when you keep asking your programming, right? Like if you say cars or trucks, it can say cars once, it can say trucks the next time, it can say trucks again, it can say cars. So that really depends on the program itself. And is guaranteed to have both of your search terms involved. And the not logic will only have one of them. And so basically for or, you don't get to pick when you say or. Like the program will either show you cars or either show you trucks. For and, both the terms you use will be there for sure. But for not, you get to pick which term you don't want to be included for. Does that make sense? So let's see the question in the chat. Can it say cars and trucks if you use or for cars or trucks? So if you use or, yes, like, okay, I'll tell you an example. So if you choose cars, if you say cars or trucks, right? And say there's the computer says cars. So I'm going to find you sources about cars. So I know it's a little bit confusing, but what will happen, yeah, so what will happen is that if you do search it up, there can be like a source that says cars and trucks are both vehicles. That can be some information that's in one of the articles, but that's not the focus, because basically what it'll do is that if you do pick cars, like for example, if it's giving you information about cars, it's focused on cars specifically, but however there can be a couple sources that do talk about trucks as well. It's not eliminating trucks from the search, but it's only focusing on cars. So if the word trucks comes up, it may come up, but it's only focusing on cars. And obviously the word trucks can pop up, but that's not what it's focused on, if that makes sense. So let me just give you a quick example regarding that. So if I made a program, or if I used a program and I told it, hey, find me searches for either dogs or cats, right? So it'll open, like, say it opened 15 searches for me, and say five of them are how to convince your parents to get a dog, right? And then it's showing me results about dogs, and five of them are how I can get a dog and how I can convince my parents. And another five are about the diets and health concerns for dogs. And then I have two about dogs versus cats, two search results that are dogs versus cat sources. And there can be another three that talk about, for example, any adoption centers or shelters nearby. So the word cats would be in some of the searches. It's just not what the focus of the search is. The focus is dogs. However, the word cat is totally allowed to appear into the search results as well. It's not banned, it's just not being focused on. So does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, this one, the next one might be a little confusing, but we'll go over that as well. Make sure you understand it. Combined and an or logic. So cows and guppies or fishes. So you can combine both and or logic in a single search as shown above. The use of parentheses in the search is known to force the order of processing. In this case, we surround the or words with parentheses so that the search engine will process the two related terms as a unit. So the search engine will use and logic to combine the results with the second concept. So using this method, we can guarantee that the related or terms are kept together as a logical unit. So that might have been a little bit confusing, but let's just break it down. So let me start annotating. 1 second. So you have this example here, cows and guppies or fishes. So usually in math, just put a thumbs up, like on Zoom, if you're familiar with this. You start off with what's in the parentheses first. Thumbs up if you're familiar with that. If you have a large equation, you usually start off with parentheses. I don't know if you've ever heard of PEMDAS, but in PEMDAS, you start off with parentheses in large equations. So, same here. In combined and or logic, we have the words cow and guppies or fishes. What we're going to do is we're going to take guppies or fishes. We're going to take this or, right? And we're going to choose between guppies, which is a type of fish actually, and compare it or fishes. So the program will say, I pick guppies. Okay, so we're going to say guppies. Then we're going to combine it back to the and logic. So we're going to say cow and guppies. So what it's basically saying in the definition is that it will basically choose a term that's being compared to an or. So whatever term you want to choose an or, the program will give well, it'll choose a term for you, and then it will add that term with the and logic and another word. Does that kind of make sense? So if you have cows and cow and guppies or fishes, say it picks fishes. Use the word fishes and you put it with the word cow. So cow and fishes or cow and guppies. But because the parentheses is an or, you cannot have cows and guppies or fishes. It's cows and guppies or cows and fishes. There's no cows and guppies or fishes. Does that make sense? You pick one term in the parentheses first, then you use that and put it next to the cows. So can you guys put an example of what we just went over, combine and or logic in the chat? Could you, or just let me know if you need a little bit more help or more time understanding it. I want you to just put an example if you can. Okay. Books and cars or trucks shows just books and cars or books and trucks. Yeah, that's exactly right. Good job. And then do you have another, do you have an example, Ria? You could put that in the chat. Animals and pillows or beds shows animals and pillows or animals and beds. That's exactly right. Good job. Good job on that. I think you guys did have a good understanding. So we're going to be moving on. Um, Scratch. So can you guys please open up Scratch and then send a thumbs up via the snap the Zoom options, and then we can go on to Scratch right after that and start working on Scratch. You guys have it? Oh, okay, that's good. So once you're in Scratch, do you guys see the option to create a project? Do you know how that looks like? Let me go back and show you guys. And we're not doing a project actually. Like I wouldn't call it a project. It's just a small introduction to whatever we just went over. So you guys, I'm assuming, are at this screen. So just press create and just give me a symbol to show me that you've done that already. And okay, it's going to give you a tutorial and everything, but you could skip over that because this is something that you don't really need that tutorial for, right? Are you guys on a screen that looks like you have your project ready to get started with, like this? Chance to you? Okay, okay, that's perfect. We're going to get started with the scratch part now. All right, all right. Next. Oh, okay. Oh, that's okay. That's not a problem. Are you at a screen that looks somewhat similar to this? You just ignore the dinosaur. Does it look somewhat similar? Yeah. Yeah, that's not a problem. I actually changed it. Does it look similar to this? Somewhat similar, apart from the dinosaur? Yeah? Okay, that's good. Perfect. Oops. Okay, so now we're going to be going over something called Boolean expressions. So we went over the operators. So what we did is we started off with the key elements of Boolean. Now we're going to go into some extra details, you could say. So Boolean expressions, so Boolean blocks, they're a form of algebra and all the values are true or false. And if commands or statements need to be used with certain conditions, that's when Boolean expressions come to hand. So what it's saying is basically, if you break it down, this is all just math. And any values given are either true or false, right? Like if I say my hair is blue, it's not, so it's false. If I say my hair is black, that means it's true. There's no in between, right? There is no anything in between. There's no in between true or false. It's either right or wrong, right? So That's what it's saying. Even in math, all the values are true or false. So if commands or statements need to be used with certain conditions, that's when Boolean expressions come to hand. So if you need to command something, is it's something that can be done. Like even in reality, we have that reality check, right? Is it something that can be done? Yes or no? Do you ever have that moment where you're like, oh, do you think I could run the mile in 9 minutes based on like my strength? Is it something that I can do? Can it be done? Right? You go either yes or no, right? So these commands or statements need to be used with certain conditions, and that's when these come to hand. So if you roll a die and your friend says you're going to roll a 6, if you roll a 5, that means it's false. It's not true. It's not anything else. Does that kind of make sense? True or false? Chance? Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So we have two block options, and there's two, right? So they are operator blocks and sensing blocks. So operator blocks, you probably heard of operations, right? Like as in addition, multiplication, subtraction, division. So it's like that. You're using numbers or data. And sensing blocks is like, what do you usually sense when you're on a computer, right? Colors, so vision, and maybe even sound, and perhaps touch because you're touching your keypads, right? So yeah, and maybe yeah. So touch, vision, like vision or sight, and yeah, and perhaps sound, not all the time. So those are like three of the five senses, right? So yeah, they can possibly be blocks or interpreted into blocks. Does anyone have any questions so far? If not, I'm going to show you those blocks. These are the operator blocks. You guys can see them, right? Yeah. Okay. These are the operator blocks. And it's called sensing here, right? These are the other blocks. Oops. Oops. Yeah. Let it go back. Okay, yeah. So these are the sensing blocks. And these are the operator blocks. So do you guys see them? Yeah, perfect. So next what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going over them. We're going to go into a section that is even deeper. So we started off with Boolean, then we went to Boolean logic, we're going to Boolean expressions, and now we're going to conditional statements. So we're breaking it down and breaking Boolean from big to small content in that topic. So using Boolean expression, we can have these conditional statements and their subsection for Boolean expressions, and the given conditions for them must be true for the commands that are described within the block in order to be acted upon. So if you have if blank then, and then repeat until blank. Can you repeat something if it's false? Like if I say if 50 is a number, then start. But so does that mean that the block is right? It is, right? Because if I say if 50 is a number, then start project. 50 is a number. That is true. Then you can start the project. And you'll say repeat until for repeat until it is done, say three times and then stop, isn't that a valid thing? Because 50 is a number, and then you do it three times, and then you're telling it to stop. Does that entire thing make sense? It does, because if the first block is true, then proceed to do the second block. So if you can't, okay, if you can't really understand it, let me use my pointer. Yeah. If this is true, this is going to happen. If this is false, this is not going to happen ever. That's impossible. So if I say, if A is a number, then start project. Repeat until 10 seconds and then stop. Well, is that possible to happen? Do you think that's possible? Is it possible to repeat something that isn't even true and hasn't even started yet? No, exactly. So we cannot continue something that never started, right? So as long as it's true, the repetition will happen. Otherwise, it cannot repeat. Does that make sense, to everyone? So now we're going to go back to this and I'll be showing you something. So you guys have a sprite and it's like a cat, right? To the right side, do you see a cat, an orange cat? Okay, perfect. You can let that be for right now. We don't really need it for this specific thing. So let's show true or false by testing on Scratch with Sprite. So let me show you something. Can you guys follow along on your screens? Is it working for you? Everything else? Like everything that I'm doing so far on Scratch or will be doing? Are you on the same page? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so pick this. Can you guys pick this and then give a thumbs up? Enter any number greater than 50 into the first box. And if you press on that box, it will say the equation is true because this number is greater than 50, obviously, right? And if I put 51, it's true. 51 is still greater than 50. If I put 50.08, it's true because 50.08, even though there's a 0.08 decimal difference, that number is still greater than 50, right? So what you'll do now is put a number less than 50 and see what happens. It's false. You cannot have one be greater than 50. I put a negative, it's still false. So if I were to say something like start project if one is greater than 50, would my project start? What do you guys think? If I said start my project when one is greater than 50, it would never start. Exactly. Perfect. Good job. Okay. Now we're going to be going over sensing. So touching color. Let's see. Because see here when I'm doing this sprite right here has not been programmed or I haven't started my code. So it doesn't know what I'm talking about when I say touching color. So it's false. Say we could do touching moist mouse pointer. See what happens. Edge, right? Let me block, delete block. This is usually what we start off with when flag is clicked, right? And if we say if touching edge, then no, sorry. Let's make it actually, yeah. Let's use a an op the operator. So let me start off with the operator. If so what I'm saying when flag is clicked, if 49 is greater than 50, then what do you want to say? Could say anything. Then backdrop number 1 of stage. I don't know. Really, that doesn't matter. You could do whatever you want. Anything is fine. So I don't really know. It's up to you guys. If you have an idea, just let me know of what I could put here. I don't really think it would matter that much. Say hello. Perfect. Let's do that. Okay, first, before I do it, what do you guys think will happen? Won't say hello. Perfect. I'm going to click this flag. N- Nothing has happened. So now I'm going to say, fine, let's be bent towards making it true. 52 is greater than 50. When the green flag is clicked, it will say hello. Do you guys see that? Does that make sense? Yeah. So I don't know why I would not start a project if I was actually programming it. But say if you didn't want it to start, you would say when flag is clicked, if 49 is greater than 50, then say hello. Personally, I wouldn't suggest that. I suggest not starting your project off. But if you would like to do that, that's the way to do it. Yeah. So there's a lot of other options. You could try out a lot of things. There's also sound, right? There's costumes, but I didn't add any costumes to the sprite or backdrops. I could have done that, right? So that's something you could just do in your free time. You can test it out by seeing what backdrops are there that I could do when I press the green flag. What costume do I want the dinosaur to be wearing? Or there's other sprites, right? There's like many other ones. You could try all of those out. But for the time's sake today, we're just going to be focusing on understanding the concepts. But there's really a lot of things you could explore on this website. And I highly recommend that you take your time to go through it. Okay. These are some other conditional statement blocks. So wait until 49 is greater than 50, right? It's never going to happen. Wait until 51 is greater than 50. It will happen. If blank, then say hello, maybe. Else, say goodbye. See, if I use this, what it means is that if 49 is greater than 50, then say hello. Otherwise, say bye. So that's another thing you can do, right? So there's also repeat 10 seconds, maybe. If repeat 10, and then you could say until 49 is greater than. You can try many different things. These blocks are completely up to you, but make sure they're the same shape as what this white part is. It needs to be this shape to fit into the block. Does that kind of make sense? And then this forever, you could put really any other block. Forever, keep costume red. It's up to you. It really depends. I don't know. Whatever you choose, you'll have it. So we have about 7 minutes left, and I want to dedicate this time for you guys to try it out. Okay. So first, I want you to press one flag clicked, right? It's an option that you will have. I believe it's in control, right? You can, oh, sorry, events. It's the first one in events. One flag clicked, add that. You could try whatever control you want. Okay, I'm going to delete this control. And it's really up to you. And we'll try, or if you're comfortable with it, you could put it in the chat, or maybe you could try sharing your screen and showing us what you have. But it's really basic. I'm going to use this and show you guys really quickly. And you guys can start using these 6 minutes to try out your own. As you do that, you can add more and more. And I'll be showing you how you can add more, but just be sure to be working on yours. And they do have like say hello, but you don't have to follow that. You can change what's in these white bubbles in looks. You can change any of those white bubbles in any of the blocks. So can you guys start working on your own? And you could put in the chat after you're done, or you could share your screen to actually show what you're doing if you're interested. So what I'm gonna do is I'll show you. See, look at this. 50. So if I say one flag clicked, if 57 is greater than 50, then say hello for 2 seconds. Let's run the flag. Else, say bye. So if I say 57 is greater than 60, see, if I say one flag is clicked, if 57 is greater than 60, then say hello for 2 seconds. If 57 is not greater than 60, you'll say bye. So watch what it does. It says bye. Does that kind of make sense? Ria, you did a really good job. That actually looks really good. Yeah. Are you guys kind of understanding how to do it? Yeah. And Chance, if you could also put a picture, that would be great. You don't have to. Or maybe even share your screen, perhaps. Yeah. So you could just let me know what you want to do and you could show it off to us. There's another option, right? Like you don't have to use this, right? Coding, the thing is, the freedom you have, it's really spectacular, I would say. You have the freedom to write whatever you want. You just have to follow the rules. It's like math. You can make whatever equations you want, but it needs to be according to the rules that are already set and given to you. That's about it, though. So, Chance, would you like to show yours off as well? Yeah. Oh, okay. Do you want to share your screen? I can stop sharing. Should I give you permission? Oh, sorry. No, let me give permission. Yeah, okay, yeah. That's no worries. You if you could put a picture as well, that'd be great. Or if not, you can describe what you did. Either way. Anything is okay. And could you guys let me know if you learned anything new or if you have any questions? Just feel free to send them in the chat. If you have anything really. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so really good job on that. Yeah. So when flag is clicked, switch backdrop to random backdrop. You can do that, but you could also add anything else, right? You can add the blocks that I was showing you, right? Like if 50 is greater than 49, then say hello. I'll say bye, something like that too. So your character is speaking. Does that kind of make sense? You could obviously add more as you go along and just keep adding and adding and adding. That's the purpose of coding. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? No? Well, that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for coming, and be sure to let me know if you have any questions, or you can always feel free to reach out to me, and my email in the chat if you have any questions. Yeah, thank you.